What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to LTQ Wrestling Podcast. I know what you guys are thinking. BDJ reviewing the AEW Dynamite. I thought it was a pretty solid show. I don't know how consistently I'm going to be reviewing AEW Dynamite, so let me know in the comments if you guys enjoy it, and we'll go from there. But AEW started off Hangman Adam Page, MJF, and I think this is a much-needed feud for MJF. He's really been stale the last few months, really hasn't been doing too well, and I think this is a feud that could help him. I've seen a lot of criticism for MJF. He's stale. He isn't really doing a whole lot. So I can understand why a lot of fans are frustrated with MJF. Like, he's kind of just doing the same thing when he comes out there. He's saying the same stuff. It's all just like blah, blah, blah. But this is a good promo. MJF comes out there, and I wrote some notes down because they said a lot during this. And he mentions the first ever Double or Nothing, how they had that battle royal, and the winner would go on to be in a world title match. And he had the match won, but Adam Hangman Page screwed him. And he says he had to scratch and claw his way all the way back to the top. Hangman got everything handed to him. He was the golden boy. He was chosen by management. He was friends with management. MJF, all he needed was a scarf and a microphone to get over. And he says he beat everybody's favorites. He can't name them all because there's too many, but he's named everybody's favorites. He mentions a lot of his accomplishments, longest reigning world heavyweight champion, AEW, and he mentions his brass ring and how that's one of his most prized possessions. He knocked out Hangman Adam Page with it. And Hangman says, you almost sound mad about your accomplishments. You don't sound confident. And is it because you haven't really gained the, trust of the fans? And he says, I know who you are. They all know who you are. You're MJF. You're 28 years old. You've accomplished so much already in your young career. And, pretty much Hangman says, do you really trust yourself? Do you really like you? Do you really love yourself? And then MJF asks that back to him. He says, you've done a lot of awful things. Mentioned some of the stuff he did with Swerve, to Legends, drinking blood, burning down Swerve's house. He said, but they cheer for you. You're the good guy, right? You've done all these things, but they cheer cowboy shit and everything for you. Do you love who you are? And he mentions Christopher Daniels, and Hangman gets pissed off right away. He says, don't disrespect Christopher Daniels. If I could give my spine to him, I would. He's done so much for this business. He mentions how he's put his life into this business when this business didn't always give good back to him. He always gave good to the business. And he gives him credit for his career, all the years he's put in. And he said, if MJF retired tomorrow, would fans have that same love for him as they do for Christopher Daniels? And MJF goes and talks about how he's better than everything, in the ring, outside the ring. If Hangman can name one more thing that he's better at, or at least one thing he's better at, MJF will hear it. And Hangman says he's real. And they have a stare down. And MJF finishes off with this line. He says, Hangman could be the main character all he wants, but MJF has no problem being the bad guy. And that's how they end it. And MJF ends up spitting at Hangman Page. He gets fired up. He starts taking out security. And before Christopher Daniels shows up, he almost hits him, but he realizes it's him. And Christopher Daniels says, this is exactly what I wanted to see. And that's the ending of the segment. A lot to go off there. They went back and forth. I thought it was a fantastic back and forth promo. I thought both guys had solid points. Both spoke well. And I don't know. Sometimes with AEW, you can have hope with these things. Sometimes you can't. I actually have hope for their match at Revolution, I believe, the next premium live event or pay-per-view. I think this could be a really good feud. I think this could be a very good match. I'm glad they're over this Jeff Jarrett and MJF thing. I just wasn't getting into it. And Hangman Page is, going back to being a babyface, which is interesting. So I do think this feud could help out both guys, especially MJF. We'll have to see how Tony Khan books it and how everything goes the next few weeks going into Revolution. But, hey, I actually enjoyed this segment. I thought it kicked ass, and I have no complaints here for my part. Now, for the rest of AEW Dynamite, we had the Patriarchy against the Ops, I believe they're called. I haven't watched AEW Weekly, so some of these people or groups I might mispronounce. I apologize. Not really much to say about this match. The Ops win. Hook put Nick Wayne in submission to end it. And really the only thing that was really scary was Joe did a suicide dive, and he looked like he hit his head on the outside of the ring. He was laying down like this for a while. kind of looked like he was groggy for a little bit, but he got back in the ring, and they celebrate the win. Big Bill against Powerhouse Hobbs in a street fight. This is another feud I've been enjoying. I think two big guys who just absolutely want to beat the hell out of each other. They did that in this match. They fought in the crowd. Big Bill did a chokeslam on the steel stairs. Brian Keith tried interfering. Powerhouse Hobbs put him through a table. And then Hobbs does like a world's strongest slam on the ramp. And then he just throws Big Bill off stairs through a table with barbed wire. And the ref counts to 10. That's the end. Powerhouse Hobbs picks up a win. And I hope this leads to something for Powerhouse Hobbs. I'm a big Powerhouse Hobbs fan. I think he's very good. He had some injuries, but I just hope they give him more of an opportunity to do a little bit more, which they've been doing a little bit more with him since he came back. I just hope it continues. So we'll see. We had a Death Riders promo, which I'm not a big Moxley fan. I'll be real with y'all. I think Moxley's boring as hell. I've never enjoyed really his style. I liked him a little bit in WWE as Dean Ambrose. I just can't get behind this Death Riders group. I hate that he's world champion again. I don't really watch any of his matches unless we review a show or something for the channel. Other than that, I'm skipping right past John Moxley's match. I just don't enjoy it. I don't know what it is. But Moxley says, he's the champ. This is his show. This is his arena. He mentions Adam Copeland. He says Cope isn't here tonight. And if he shows up at Evolution, he will finish the job. He almost did Australia, but he didn't. And Jay White comes out. And Jay White's staring down the whole Death Rider group. But then Pac pops up behind him. And he starts brawling with all of them. And then you hear, "You think you know me." And the crowd goes crazy. Cope comes out there. He takes him out, hits a few spears. Moxley and Mariah, I always forget her name. Shafir. There you go. I always forget her name for some reason. Mariah Shafir, I think. Maria Shafir. They retreat. They go into the crowd. Cope chases after him. They escape. He gets on the mic, and he says, "Moxley, this isn't your arena. These aren't your people. These are my people." And he says, "I want a one-on-one match at Revolution." And he says he's going to take out all the Death Riders one by one. So when he gets to face Moxley at Revolution, it will be man versus man. The crowd's cheering, and that's the end of that segment. So not a bad segment. I haven't really been too, like I said, fond of Moxley, but I am a Cope fan. Who is it? His AEW run's been up and down, obviously, but maybe this will do justice for. I kind of hope he beats Moxley for the title, but we'll have to see what they do with that. We had Chris Statlander against Megan Bayne. Pretty solid match. Not really much to say besides Penelope Ford interferes, and Megan Bayne gets the win. And then Thunder Rosa came out there, and it was just weird. Like, she looked like she was about to swing the chair, and then she stopped, and then her and Penelope Ford had a tug of war over the chair, and they just left the ring. It was very odd. I don't know if it was like a botch by one of them or just not on the same page or something weird was happening during that. I don't really understand what went on, but it was just an odd segment. We had Ricochet come out, heel Ricochet. Talks about how he's beating everybody's favorite since he's arrived in AEW. He's rocking Prince Nana's robe. He beat Swerve. He's confident. Not a bad promo from Ricochet. One of his best promos in a while. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. He didn't really botch or nothing. He didn't sound like a geek. He sounded like a serious heel. So I actually enjoyed this Ricochet promo. Prince Nana comes out there. He told Ricochet, I told Swerve to stay home. This is between me and you. I didn't want him to get involved in this. And he asked for his robe back. And Ricochet says, "You want it back? Take it back." And he does his, he says he ain't getting the robe back. And he does his laugh, the ha-ha thing he always does, or whatever that laugh is Ricochet does. And he walks away. So I guess the robe is a very serious thing from Prince Nana. Guessing that's what the feud's going to be over, is Ricochet taking the robe after he beat Swerve last time. We'll all have to see. Pretty solid promo. I know not everybody's going to be a fan of the whole robe story. I get that. At least it's something, I guess. But, I mean, I can get why a lot of fans criticize it. And then the main event, number one contenders match. Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, winner faces Takeshita for the international, there's so many titles in AEW, International Championship next week on Dynamite. Great match, back and forth. They got about 15 minutes to close the show. They went a little bit overtime in the end. Orange Cassidy ends up hitting the Orange Punch, gets the win. And then Don Callis, right when Orange Cassidy's getting ready to get interviewed by Tony Schiavone, the Don Callis family comes out there, and Don Callis says, you're just an orange-haired hippie or something. It didn't really get a reaction. And then they attack him. And then you hear Kenny Omega's music, big pop. He comes out. they take out Takeshita and Mark Davis, I think's the other guy's name, and Omega holds up the title. And Orange Cassidy's look at him like, hold on now, I want that title. I'm fighting for it next week. Takeshita's outside the ring with Don Callis. He's looking at the title because that's his title. So maybe a triple threat in the future. We're definitely getting Takeshita and Omega for sure. So that's definitely the direction they're going. All in all, not a horrible AEW Dynamite. Sometimes with AEW, there's not really much to talk about with the show. That's why I don't always do reviews of the show. But like I said, if you guys really enjoy it, I'll start doing those more. I don't work on Wednesday nights, so it could definitely be something I can make happen. Let me know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment any thoughts you had on AEW. Make sure to like and subscribe for any wrestling content we post every week. Peace.